10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
What is up, race fans? It is your man, Slammin' Sam, here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. I hope you're ready for another slammin' night. I like that. A slammin' night of drag racing talks, maybe a little burn down. Who knows what we're going to talk about? But we are live here on YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere else. The Competition Plus Power Hour, but I am not the only host. I am joined by the one, the only, the Monday morning racer, Lee. Switch us, Lee.
You know, I had that already worked out, but we had to redo it. Something kicked me out, and I had to come right back in. But Sam, man, what an honor and a privilege it is to be talking with you, to be talking with people like Scott Malpass, to be talking with later on, our guest, Joe Costello, in the show. What a honor it is to come and yak it up about drag racing each and every week. The 40th episode right here.
Pause. Hard pause. Did you say 40? Like 40?
Goose egg.
40.
40.
Who has put up with us for 40 episodes of drag racing controversy,
Larry,
throw down,
Stan,
get off my...
yourself. And if I could put a comment in real quickly, I would say as well as me. So
40 episodes.
Thank you.
Bobby Bennett, thank you for putting up with our crap. We appreciate it.
Yes. We're, competitionplus.com, which, by the way, folks, it is where you can believe everything that you read on the internet right there at competitionplus.com. Great news from the world of drag racing. I feel like it is the stand-up news source in the world of drag racing. You can go there and you can believe what is written there. High quality opinion. And then that's like the light side, but the dark side is right here on Tuesday night.
When the sun goes down,
yes,
they bring out the Yahoos, and we get to yak it up. Look, Lee, there's even people from Australia. Like, come on.
Jules,
like,
good to
thank
have
you.
Good to have you on.
That's awesome. We want to know where you guys are from.
Yeah, let us know. Chime in where you're from. The Aussies, those Australians, those people down under, they love their drag racing. They love their motorsports. They have a great car culture down there. I hope eventually get down there someday and film a drag race. I would love to do that. And man, I am missing, shout out to Peter and Helen Russo, missing the Russos and the Russo Fuel Funny Car running over here in the States because of everything with COVID.
Yeah, man, but still. We appreciate all you guys, so please let us know where you guys are from. If this is your first time, please say you're a first-timer. If you guys know the rules, if Lee or I mute ourselves and you hear one of these and we're not talking, please join in. You guys are sitting in the comfort of your own home. I'm drinking water. Lee, what's your drink of choice tonight? Is it the cup of ice?
It is fabulous Deer Park water.
So, yes, if you see one of us mute ourselves, we do have a friendly drinking game, so you can take a sip of your water. If you want to be interactive with us, you can always send us emails at powerhourcp@gmail.com. We look forward to opening those emails from you guys each and every week. Hello to everyone. There's so much racing to talk about. We know Stan's going to give us our first controversy piece to, bring on air, I'm pretty sure, as he's always well on it. Him or Scott will give us a good piece to dive into.
Stan doesn't bring a controversial piece. He brings actually a very good piece first. Phoenix is back next year right after Pomona. That's good news. We've got Phoenix back. That is a market I think we need to keep, even in the long term. If it's not Phoenix, some way, somehow staying in Arizona in that four corners vicinity of the country. I like that we're going back there. I just really hope they rework their snack policy, which is a track policy, not an NHRA deal, because I'm not a fan of it. But I hope they rework it. And nonetheless, I plan on being there. Look forward to being at Wild Horse Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. I think I said that right. It's got a rather long name. Great facility.
Oh, yeah.
Just fix the snack policy.
Hey, I saw a comment in here. It says, "Hey, Bobby Bennett." There was one that says, "We miss Bobby Bennett." Guys and girls, there is a special time and a place for the boss man, Mr. Bobby B, to come on, and that is a little spot that we like to call here, "Get off of my track." You know, you always hear those older guys get on and rant and rave about, you know, get off my grass, but we've created a special place there for get off my track there for Bobby Bennett. So you have to join because we never know when he's going to pop in. Also in the news of the Competition Plus Power Hour, Mr. Jeff Aran, this is 2 weeks. I think we're going to have to put him in the fine pool. He's on the IR, the injury report, not coming in still due to some dental activity that he had going on. So, I mean, that's kind of
I'm
sad.
looking at you. Look into my eyes. You can't see them. But I'm looking at you, Jeff. We miss you, buddy. Get better. Hopefully have you back on the show. We value your perspective, and I know everyone else does.
Yes. Hey, Lee, since we're going to talk about this, we need to get our fantasy pool out of the way, and let's just say I think we both did horrible. Your picks this week, your picks were for Top Fuel, you had Billy
Torrance.
For Funny Car, you had Mr. Ron Capps. And for Pro Stock, you had Greg. You were close. You were in the same camp, but no. Hey, I didn't do good. I had Justin Ashley. I had JR. And I had Troy Coughlin Jr.
Hey, he did qualify number one, but that doesn't count because this isn't horseshoes and hand grenades.
And since we're talking about what we talked about, since we had John Force on, guys and girls out there, if you've been paying attention to the show, a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about on the show has come, you know, full circle and been stories there with Competition Plus, you know, a couple of days later. So, you know, some of the stuff that we're talking about does carry over to shows, but I asked John last week, what would it mean for him and Brittany to be in the winner's circle together? And Lee, other than him telling us that the only thing he wants in drag racing that's electric is his electric toaster because he needs that for his bagels and for his toast, he said he wanted him and his daughter to be in the winner's circle together. And would you know, we talked to him on Tuesday, and on Sunday it happened.
That's right. It happened, man. Historic. You asked that question. What a cool deal for you to ask that question. It happens. As Steve J. Gold says, John Force is on Joe Costello's show today. Joe oftentimes talks to the winners of the national events. And Joe, I hope we can get his thoughts and get the abridged version of what John said, or that would be the whole show if we don't get the abridged version. And people can be encouraged to go check out Joe's show on WFO Radio to understand this historic moment. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope we can really flesh this out with Joe later, but when you look in motorsports, we've seen fathers and sons win on the same day or finish 1-2. I think of Bobby Allison and Davey Allison. We have seen brothers perform very well, 1-2, or finish close in a race, or finish, you know, win on Saturday and then another one win on Sunday, especially in stock car racing. But I think this may be the first time ever in professional motorsports, and I dare say anywhere in professional sports, that you have the situation of a daughter and a father winning like this. Because there's hardly any other sports that it can happen in. Again, drag racing has been diverse from the beginning. And we have something that we should, in this moment, celebrate, I think, with the forces as drag racing fans. But it is overshadowed, I would say, Sam. Bring yourself back on that screen. Because, as we mentioned earlier with the Bobby Bennett segment and pulling from the Gran Torino Clint Eastwood film and that line, "Get off my lawn." Well, I have got to ask from Russell Crowe and Gladiator, are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Well,
man, if you are not entertained by drag racing right now, and if you're one of those people that last week we had it on the show, oh, this class is dead, this is this. If you were thinking that, I mean, in the last few races, we've had the most entertainment in NHRA that we've seen in a very long time. And I don't think that's just my opinion. And also, if anything else, what has come out of the Hagen Force incident, what has come out of the newly burned down incident that I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about, NHRA has had a very big buzz lately on all social media platforms.
Sure.
If nothing else, we're doing our job. Finally, the job is being done. We are talking about drag racing more than just on Sundays and Mondays with our friends. Right. Everyone has been talking about what's going on, what happened, why did those two get into a fight, why did those two burn each other, why were they trying to burn each other down? Why was, I said it to you on Sunday when we talked later on Sunday. I didn't know we were going to DQ. I didn't know this was Dairy Queen. Like I thought you only went to Dairy Queen on Sundays and got the double DQ. But hey, I guess when you're at the racetrack, that can happen too. So we continue to talk drag racing.
Right.
That's
it fascinates me.
We are trying to do.
It fascinates
what
me,
we're trying
Sam.
to do.
You have people that put out this narrative, NHRA drag racing is dead. Well, why are you talking about it? Because we're talking about it, it must be alive and frankly well. And there has been more to talk about this year, I think, than many years past. What a resurgence, I think. A good start from last year with COVID hanging on. And I love what Darren mentions. American Hot Rod Entertainment. Check out his YouTube channel. He is a John Force Racing fanboy. I was going to
say that...
Most wins
that
for
guy,
John in the season. John's performing.
That guy, Darren, right there. I want to give Darren a shout out. You already said go follow him. You guys need to do that. But if there is any John Force piece of information that you could ever possibly want to know or store in your brain, that's the guy that's probably gonna, blurt out those random facts for you. And he knows his stuff. But I gotta say, the man, John Force, said the only thing in drag racing that he ever wants that's electric is what? What is it, Lee?
Toaster.
I just want my toaster. Everything else can go.
Sam, look, we've still got about 15 minutes. We still got about 15 minutes before having Joe come on. Let's dive into it. Stan says, will Bruno survive?
No. We're not going to dive into that yet.
Why not?
We're not going to dive. We know. Because that's what they want, Lee.
You're going to make them wait.
We got to make them wait. You can't always give the kid candy right away. Okay? You got to make them wait. Wait it out. First, we're going to talk about JR. No. We're going to keep on the John Force situation. Did you see that JR Todd waited for John Force? He waited him out. John went in. JR Todd waited his time, bided his time to make sure, like, hey, if you're going to try any funny biz, I've got this time. We can play this game. We talked about playing the game 2 weeks ago. We talked about playing the game last week. John said it. You have time to sit there and stage, and then you've got your 7 seconds. He did that. Unfortunately, JR Todd has a slip up halfway down the track. John Force gets his win. 154th win. 154th. Yeah.
Look, I like JR Todd. He is willing to go up there and, like a cerebral player, he knows the competition. And look, all these guys still get psyched up for John Force. He is the living.
How can you not?
Right? How can you not? How can you not?
It's no different. It's no different than early 90s when we all used to watch WWF or E, whichever one, We're not talking about it. You can wait. We're going to talk about a couple more things before we talk about the burn down, okay? All right. How can you not like it? It's just like when Goldberg used to come in. Everyone got excited. Then Triple H, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin. It didn't matter. When you heard that crash and you saw those beers flying, you got excited. John Force makes people excited. I don't care if you got mad at the guy 15 minutes before. When he does the burnout and you see the Peak Chevrolet and the Auto Club and Monster Energy and he does it for all his sponsors and he gets all riled up, you get excited because you want to know why? He's been the face of drag racing for how long?
Oh, wow. I mean, it picks up late 80s, even though he was there earlier, but late 80s going into the 90s, and it's been that long since he has been really the face of drag racing, the most successful drag racer there honestly has been. Again, though, man, J.R. Todd, I love how he is willing to take it to John. I like that. They all get up for John, but there's a few they kind of lay over for John. But JR is like, all right, I know your game. I'll play your game. I like that, man. I like that from the competition. JR, he's not going to take it from anyone. And for whatever, look, the Coletta Funny Car in particular is running exceptionally well this year, it seems like. And they're a player. I feel sorry for Doug right now. Speaking of the Coletta gang, I don't know what is going on over there. It is shocking, the lack of performance for Doug Coletta right now.
Lee, do you see this comment right here? Everyone's puzzled and getting scolded about missing the old NHRA, but we're getting glimpses of it and people still complain. I like that. We are seeing it. We're seeing people play the game. We're seeing people have fun. We are seeing, hey, guess what? I need to do. John is at the point right now. He keeps saying it. I'm 72 years old. I'm old. These people are younger than me. They're more agile than me. They're smarter than me, blah, 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 whatever. He's got to play the game. And if you can't play the game, get out the kitchen.
Yeah.
Period. Okay. Moving on. Brittany versus Clay. Brittany Force. Qualify as number one. She goes to the top.
Not shocked by that.
And she uses it to her advantage.
Sure.
Why not?
Because of the ladder, she does get that bye in, I think it was the second round. And I will say there were a few reaction times that were better than average for her. And she got the job done. And she gets the win on a historic weekend. And I think with this win, it cements the legitimacy of them being a championship contender later on in the countdown for sure. Because, we're standing really about halfway at the NHRA season. And normally, years ago, we'd say, okay, we're halfway. Who looks good for the championship? Who doesn't look good for the championship? But there's going to be 10 people looking pretty good going into Maple Grove for the championship after Indy. So the halfway talk, who's to say who looks good right now? You got to get hot at the right time. And Brittany and that team, they might be getting hot at the right time.
I agree. Now, we're going to talk pro stock, but we're not going to talk about what you think we should talk about. I want to talk about this whole KB final. The KB team is looking very stout right now. You like I said, you can't bet against the elite team. You cannot. You cannot bet against the KB team. But for what they're doing continuously right now, they have put themselves into a position where for sure they will have 3 cars in the later rounds. Unless something goes horribly wrong, there's going to be 3 competitive cars out of that KB group.
There are, and they are definitely showing they have we know right now it's really a battle between KB and Elite. I say that. That does not mean that Frank Iconia Power cannot get the job done. That does not mean that the McGay-Hayes with their camp cannot get it done. But slightly going to touch on it, with that double DQ, you had 1 elite car gone. that was a potential to make it to the finals.
Lee said we're not going to talk about that yet.
You had to mention it, Sam, because that car, a lot of people, oh, it's not Erica's car. Oh, it's not, Coughlin's car. That car can and has and will go to the finals. Remember at the Southern Nationals, you had it go to the finals again for the second time in a row of that particular event, with it being the last event this year for that. But it is a good car. It's an elite car. It can perform.
Another controversy piece. Why are we missing another elite car? We won't touch on that. We'll let you decide.
That is a deep rabbit hole. And that definitely goes and wades into the muck of social media. And if anybody is out there willing to do some digging and searching, you definitely have the question marks in bold red versions begin to fire off in your mind of what actually transpired.
Yes. But now, let's talk about Mr. Dallas. Perfect light. Trip, zip. See ya later. Catch up if you can. That is what we call a whole shot, and I'm taking that bag to the bank. And I get the win. As my man Shannon Sharp would say, that's old Go James. That's money.
What can you say? There is some great young talent right now in NHRA Pro Stock. Dallas Glenn, Aaron Stanfield, Mason McGahey, Kyle Koretsky, Troy Coughlin Jr. You have some great talent in NHRA Pro Stock right now. And frankly, I was shocked in a Susan Wade article that came out for auto racing, I believe it was, like the 12 top people in NHRA drag racing to make it big, like projections. There wasn't a pro stocker mentioned. I don't know if they were trying to be fuel centric, but I would definitely have had to mention someone like a Dallas Glenn or a Kyle Koretsky, or especially Aaron Stanfield.
But my thing, Lee, is why doesn't a Trip Zip not make it on the ESPN? Like, these are the questions I have. Why do we have people going over 300 miles an hour? We have people doing it, why isn't this kind of stuff, like, who do we need to bug? Why are, FS1, like, I get it. You're talking about all these other sports. Why are they not arguing about drag racing? Why is Shannon Sharp not saying something about it? Stephen A. Smith, why aren't you saying something about it? Come on.
Sam.
Scam.
The reason is there is not an appreciation beyond those in motorsports. And look, I would say even within motorsports, there's a lack of appreciation from other individuals to the drag racer. That's why Tony coming into the sport, and I hope he does eventually compete. I think we will see it. But just what he's done so far, and some NASCAR guys going to the track. Not that didn't ever happen before. There's photos of Richard Petty being at the track, Dale Earnhardt being at the track, and Rusty Wallace being at the track, and they find the sights and sounds to be spectacular. But Tony being in the car and having been in one of those cars and been in an open wheel car and been in a sprint car and a stock car and F1 car and all these other cars, he's able to relate to them through the nomenclature of a racer. This is how challenging it is. These guys are not just going in a straight line. I think we need to do this, Sam. We need to work it out some way, whether it is the Pure Speed Racing Experience or Frank Hawley's school or whatever, Roy Hill's school, whatever school of drag racing. We need to get Skip and Steven and other personalities such as that, put them in the cars and let them get a taste of drag racing and experience it behind the wheel. See how tough it is.
That's why I'm doing it myself. Mad Bro Motorsports, we sell a lot of race car parts, and the drivers, oh, Sam, you've never driven a circle track car. You don't know what it's like. Oh, you just think drag racing is the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah, I do. So what am I doing? I'm taking the challenge. 3 days. Me, IMCA, hobby stock car I'll be driving, and I am excited. There's a buzz going around. But Lee, now we can finally, before we talk about this most controversy thing, if you guys have picks for this week, please email us to powerhourcp@gmail.com. Your picks this week, please. powerhourcp@gmail.com. I'll get those over to Bobby, and some way we'll create something where everyone can see everyone's pick. But if you're out there and you have some way for like FanDuel, DraftKings, or anything like that, if you have a link where we can set this up, the Power Hour needs its own like draft area so everyone can enter their picks. Help us out, y'all. You help us, we all win in this together. Lee, what happened last week? I guess they've got everyone in the comments so riled up about that they want to talk about. You want to tell me?
Well, in the drag racing world, there might even be controversy on whether it's one or two words, but it is the burn down.
Explain what the burn down, the down of the burn. They're almost running out of fuel, not listening to the starter, the guy with the switch, the guy that said enough is enough, the nitty ditty. Explain to us what the burn down is.
The burn down, also known as a staging duel, is a moment within drag racing that the two competitors, I don't think we've actually seen it in the 4-wide variety, thank God yet. That might be interesting. But on the two-wide variety...
Pause. How badass would that be in the 4-wides, though? I want to know. We're going to save that question for Joe. That's a great question for Joe.
We'll save that question for Joe. But it is where two drivers, oftentimes they are already pre-staged, but I have seen it where they're sitting waiting to pre-stage, both of them, that they are pre-staged and they are sitting, waiting for someone to put on the stage light, which then, by the rules, puts on the other competitor not staged a time limit of 7 seconds to stage to begin the process of, hey, I'm ready to race. Starter, throw the switch. Well,
now, a question for you.
Sure.
Me personally, if I'm racing you in the classes that I race, if I was a nitrous car and you were a turbo car, in the sense of grudge, I'm going to talk to all the grudge racers out there really quick. If you are a nitrous car and the other person's a turbo car, it would be very, very mean for you to accidentally not stage while that guy's on his two-step and just kind of let him get up there and rev it up. I've never done that before. I think I have, but I'm just saying, if you were that guy, if you're a turbo guy out there and you're running the nitrous guy, heads up, don't go in first. Because I'm a guy that's kind of mean. But, Lee, I have to ask you a question because I'm a superstitious kind of guy when I race. There's a certain thing. Everything's got to go on a certain way. You got to wear certain colors on race days and on certain, days of the week. Now, say you are a guy that likes to go in second and I'm a guy that likes to go in second. How do we manage that? Because I probably would not even enter the pre-stage until you did. Now, out of common courtesy, if we're both that, is that underground rule where we say, hey, you go in first, or we rock, paper, scissors in the staging lanes before it? How do we come to that common agreement?
I do not know how you would come to the common agreement. I think it's a driver-to-driver thing, and apparently there was no common agreement between Bruno Massel and Mason McGahey whatsoever. They had made up their minds to not be the first to fully stage, and they set for an estimated 3 minutes plus before, after warnings, they were rolled back with a DQ.
But it's happened before and they didn't get DQ'd. They were just told to go to the back. You didn't get to refuel. You didn't get to do anything. And if you ran out of fuel, that was on you. But I'm just saying, so what if these, and who knows, once all this stuff gets aired out, I know there's a question about things that Bruno may have said, but my question is, if we don't hash it out where you want to go in, you say, hey, you know what? I know you always go in last. I'll go in first. If you don't hash that out, are you really trying to do a stage and do, or are you just mentally in your own game? You're saying, okay, I'm waiting for this guy. And if you don't race that guy that often, you're like, what the hell is he doing? well, I'm not going in till he goes in.
And
I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
That may be the case. Bruno doesn't race in pro stock every weekend. Mason is running the full schedule. I don't know. I would think that you would look and see the traits of your competitor. Maybe it was a situation of Bruno kind of being the veteran, that he's like, I'm not staging, the kid can stage. I don't know. I'm not saying it was an ego thing. What is going on in the mind of a racer? I don't know. If it was me, I certainly would want to know what my competitor is willing and not willing to do. I think in hindsight, they obviously would have liked the opportunity to run, but the chief starter stepped in, Brad Hardy, and after 3+ minutes, he said, you've lost your opportunity to do this and to run. And right now on NHRA, on their social media feeds, they came out with Brian Loans doing a brief interview with Brad Hardy, explaining the situation and going over it. And they go in detail about what happened. I want to say this, Sam, before we bring Joe Costello on. We do got him in studio. Either way, whether you don't like staging duels, because some people don't. I've been in the stands for a staging duel. The last major staging duel, Chris Thorne, Steve Jackson, Indy, like the Indy 3 or 4, whatever it was. There was a burn down between them, a staging duel, and there was plenty of fans who were like, get stage and race. I didn't pay to see cars sit. They're out there. So whether you like it or not, I just like it all the way around, because here we are. We're talking about drag racing, the controversy of it, NHRA, whether right or wrong. I love it. I love it. Are you not entertained?
Are you not? But so then people ask the question here. Let's find it. Boom. Is it based on who the drivers are? Would there have been favoritism if there was? I don't think so. I think the call was made. The thing I didn't get, there was no, you heard no throttle whack. Usually, when you got two guys and one guy's not going in, you hear wham, wham, like, hey, dude, you going? What's up? Let's go. There was none of that. So maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of controversy with the question about what Bruno said. Will he survive through that? Who knows? We can't talk about that. We can't put words in his mouth. He said what he said. Who knows? Tempers may have been high. Everything was kind of spare, in the moment. Things are said. But guess what? It amped the crowd up. We're still talking drag racing. People that weren't going to talk about it at work, that went back to work on Monday were like, man, did you see that?
Right.
If anything, I hope we gain 2 more fans to go to Minnesota this weekend, the zoo. I'm pumped up about it. It's only 6 hours away from my house. 6 hours, 5 hours and 45 minutes away from my door, right here, where I am right now. So I will be there.
Good deal. Well, man, I think in the burn down situation, there are some things. Look, very quickly, I think some things can be cleared up. In listening to the interview that Brian Loans had with Brad, one, he's very clear. It was his decision. So, if you want to say it was from the tower or whatever, fine, but he said it was his. Racing did actually occur because they went over the procedures in drag racing, and they got busted by the rules, by the officials, you could say. Rules were followed. And, man, you did still see a staging duel. A lot of folks they like to say, oh, they took it away. No, they didn't take it away. You saw it. You just saw an outcome that you're not used to. Look, I understand Buster Couch, longtime starter, famous starter for the NHRA. There's plenty of videos of him, even Bob Glidden and Butch Leal backing them up. And they would get an opportunity to come back after a good little stern talking to. Well, I tell you what, know thy starter, because Brad Hardy isn't messing around, apparently. And the limit is like 1 minute and 45 seconds, which was about how long that one with Chris Thorne and Steve Jackson was, to 3 minutes. You start getting in that window, you might just get DQ'd. And I don't mean no ice cream from Dairy Queen.
I like the chicken strips, just saying. Extra ranch.
Gravy.
I'm just saying.
Hey, we didn't get Joe.
Well, Lee, it's about that time.
Yeah.
Break to a commercial. I think we're going to go to the Power Competition Plus swag.
Let's do it.
Lee, roll that commercial.
And Joe Costello, WFO, on next.
Get your CompetitionPlus.com apparel today. Whether it's our nitro-burning funny car design or the vibrant door slammer design, we have the swag to show you are always in the know. Get yourself a hat too. And we know not everyone enjoys wearing a mask, but if you must wear one, at least wear a good-looking one. Check out the new CompetitionPlusApparel.com for the latest from the place where you have trusted for your news on the internet for over 2 decades.
WFO Joe, how do you do tonight, man?
I'm great. What's up, WFO?
Long day for you, Joe. You had, this is what, your 4th show today?
I don't know. I've lost track at this point. Totally lost track.
Yeah.
But hey, first opportunity on the Power Hour. I had to do it. When I got the text, it's like, yeah. And then like 9:30, I'm like, ooh, all right, let's do it. So here we are.
So you had a long, short interview with John. You didn't have him face to face. You got to talk to him in the airport. You could abbreviate that for us. And what John was like today. What was that like for you?
Well, it was great. It was great. You know, it's difficult in between these 2 races or any 2 races to get everybody perfectly, and everyone's traveling. Reinhardt was in the airport at the bus depot or something. And John, same deal. He's masked. He's in the terminal. He's at the gate. He's waiting. He missed his flight by a minute. But we were supposed to go on at 4. We went on at 2:30 as soon as he was ready. But we got a great force today. It's not always the same John Force. I think people assume it's always this wild man John Force, and it's not. He was kind of very introspective today. Just happy. He was going to his grandson's birthday. He was happy about Brittany, as you guys mentioned a little bit earlier. He was, just very happy about that historic double up with Britt. And then he started to kind of, go down the road and thinking a little bit about, where he's been and what he's done. He told us a great story about Mongoose, which was a little surprising to me, but maybe not that surprising. So he was really good. It was a good deal. And John's in the fight. That's the thing that's amazing, is that John has got a shot to win a championship, to win the U.S. Nationals. John Force has got as much a shot to win as anybody else out there right now. And, if you're a John Force racing fan, well, that's good news.
Definitely is good news for those John Force racing fans. And Joe, being halfway through the season, look, your top 3 stories from your perspective so far in NHRA drag racing, with you there at the track, knowing so many and interacting with so many, what do you think the top 3 are, other than, as you mentioned, the GOAT himself being in great contention for another championship and even a U.S. Nationals title? What are those 3?
Wow. Off the top of my head, I think the Greg Anderson pushed up against this milestone with Warren Johnson, the way he came out of the box looking so strong. And now we're seeing the struggles against the milestone, which is the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be easy. And I would piggyback that on the health of pro stock in general, like pro stock, a category that so many of us love. They're not as fast. They're not as loud. They don't shoot fire, but you get it or you don't. Right? You get it or you don't. And those of us that get it are very happy. We're thrilled. Yeah, there's not Ford engines under those Mustangs, but there's not Chevy engines under John Force's Camaro either. And it's just the nature of the beast. So I think that is one. I would say, soldiering through, coming out of the COVID pandemic situation. So many people, you may recall, people don't remember the things that they said. And you guys have said a lot about the fans and the people. I spent a fair amount of time on WFO, trying to be positive, but every once in a while annoyed by the keyboard people out there who are like posting negativity for no good reason. Like, why would you do it, guys? Like, why are you said it earlier and I loved it. Like, you're commenting about NHRA, but your comment is that you're upset or you don't like it or that nobody's commenting. Like, what is that? It's just so weird. It's like masochistic in a way. So many people said, oh my gosh, the pandemic is going to kill the NHRA and that's it and it's over. And no, it hasn't been. We had a great crowd out there in Kansas. Was it a sold out packed house crowd? No, it was hot. It was, it's tough, that facility, but we had a good crowd. I call it a 90% crowd, especially on Saturday. It was really good. And so just the comeback story, I think, is a big story. And then I'm still with the Capco team and their historic dominance. What's happening there? You know, you go back to Alan Johnson, Tony Schumacher, the season that they had. All right, that's not going to happen with the Capco team because of the last couple of weeks. They had to win like, you know, every race to tie that. But they're still the team to beat. They still do it in a way that is fun and uplifting and exciting. And they're a band of brothers out there. And so my eye is on them every week. And what happened this week with Brittany beating Steve just adds to it because now we have the last two Top Fuel champions battling it out. And of course, Force, you took that one off the table for me, so I couldn't go with that. But funny car points being so close is something that I've got my eye on as well because, you know, how does Ron Capps, you know, go to the top and then Forrest goes to the top and whoever wins the race this week is going to the lead of the points. To me, that's exciting and fun and everybody should feel like they got a skin in the game. Every fan of any driver in funny car should feel like you got a skin in the game because if your guy wins, there's a good chance he's going to the front of the points.
Man, Joe, right.
So
you know, many of us were talking about before.
Wow, that was stressful, guys. Right off the top of my head, you're hitting me with questions and stuff. When it's my show, I don't have to worry about that stuff. I'm hitting other people with questions. This has been so crazy.
Man.
Because I'm just sitting here and I'm like, do I need to turn anything on? No. Do I need to click record? No. I don't need to do anything. Just need to sit here, be along for the ride. That's why I like it. But then you hit me with questions, tough questions. So, all right, I'm ready.
Hey, we're wound up because the people out there today got us kind of wound up right away because they wanted to dive right into what happened. Give us the juicy stuff, and it's like, no, we gotta slowly get there. Joe's got a lot of information.
I heard you slow walking him.
So Stan asked a great question, and I think this is a kind of a no-brainer. But it says, "Why do you wear black in the sun all day?" I think everyone's wearing black, right, Joe?
You know, like they used to ask Johnny Cash, like, why do you always wear black? Or you going to a funeral? He said, maybe I am. That's what he said. The answer is, these are the clothes that are provided to me by the National Hot Rod Association. And up until this week, I would wear black golf trousers and my gray NHRA button-down shirt, which was fine. But we got some new Marwin Apparel dry fit gear. And I got it in Pomona, and I decided to test drive it this week in Kansas. And I got a lot of positive feedback because, you know, black is slimming. That having been said, it was a little rough out there. But, you know, what's more important, to look good or to feel good? And I think we all know the answer. And so black it is, as long as it lasts.
Well, and two, you don't want to get dirty. I mean, you're standing at the starting line all day. Rubber. I mean, it's one of those kind of parties. But Joe, I got to ask.
The average person doesn't. What you just said, though, people don't get that. Like all the things about drag racing that people don't get. And there's no way to know and understand that you're being rained upon by rubber at all times. And, you know, people notice that everybody turns around and turns their back to the burnouts, right? That's for safety, of course. But every once in a while, I'll turn around too soon and just get blasted with rubber. And it's just so annoying. And that's all over you. You're filthy down there. So wearing black is a great benefit for that as well. It makes you feel a little cleaner. That's why all the white pants, everybody wants to know where with the Jim Dunn team, like, why don't they wear all white with the Moon Eyes car? Because the rubber nowadays sheds off those tires and ends up on everybody. And it's awful.
It is everywhere. And it's not just the burnout box either. I was filming testing at ZMAX, and even, past 60 foot and a little further on down, and even on the other lane, you're just getting rained with rubber the whole time. And yeah, if you wear anything other than black, so that's why black is the chosen color of drag racers and drag racing. It's everywhere.
Always.
I think it's all motorsports. Like it's funny when you are heading or traveling to PRI, and I leave Minot, North Dakota. I go to Minnesota, and you maybe have one or two different people, but then you have a layover in Texas or something before you get to Indy. You notice the people that are headed to PRI. They've got on black Vans, straight bill hats, and some type of black racing short or Dickies pants. It's like when you look at the race closet, it's like I can pick from right here because every t-shirt is black, all the jeans are black. I know what I'm wearing. It's simple, it's clean.
Well, I think there's something to it. I'm not a flat bill cap guy. I got to reject that. But everything, I'm old school, man. Give me I like to bend it up a little bit. But definitely, it's just easier. It's easier. It's simple.
Look at the show right now. It's black and red somehow. Look
black
at that.
And red. Black and red. Black and red, right? Like what's racier than black and red? No,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So, Joe, I didn't get to see the national broadcast. I was traveling after covering the PDRA race in Maple Grove, so I didn't get to see the national broadcast, but I did see a photo clip earlier today that you did interview Bruno apparently right after the staging duel. I don't know if you got to go over and talk to Mason at the same time or not, but could you recap that for us and for anyone else that might have missed the national broadcast? And you're there on the line near it and able to interview the crew chiefs and folks, that are walking away from the line. And it's not often you get to talk to a driver because of some situation, especially like that. So recap it for us, but give us the sense, the feeling, the energy that was going on in the moment.
Yes, the burn down, which, here John Force just won his 154th career race, and he doubled up with Brittany. And what are we talking about? What's everybody talking about? They're talking about pro stock. They're talking about the burn down. Whether you're for or against, I heard you guys talking about Shannon Sharp and those guys and the debates that they have. This is that kind of debate, right? You're for, you're against, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. This is what our sport needs. And the curmudgeon types that are against all of it, this was good. It would have been cool to see them race, but it played out this way. This is the way it played out. So in the moment, it's first pair, right? The 8-9 qualifiers are rolling out. I'm in the V, and which is right between the water boxes for the most part. And I'm excited. I'm excited for pro stock. I'm ready to watch what's going to go down. We got some big matchups, right? We got Hartford versus Aaron Stanfield, first round. We got some big stuff. And Bruno versus Mason McGahey. So they come up, they do their burnouts, they pre-stage and start to watch. And I notice, now I don't always notice everything immediately because I'm kind of looking around at all different things. But this one I noticed immediately, like, uh-oh, here we go. And I got into it. Now, the problem is that the stands are so far from the starting line. So was the crowd into it? I don't know. But I kind of started, and I don't know if I feel embarrassed about it, but I became a little bit of a fan at that moment because ultimately I am a fan. I'm like, yeah, let's get the crowd into this. We got a burn down going. We got Bruno from TV. And I immediately started to think, wow, that's great because Bruno he's a television star, and Mason, the kid over there, like what's going to happen? And we got quite a bit of way into it. And then I started to think, oh man, this thing could be going sideways a little bit. It could be going sideways. Like, how does this end? And then it was going really long. And so some people started to hoot and holler and the people started to look around, and I looked around, and I think I connected eyes with Courtney Enders, and we looked at each other, and Jerry Haas was next to me, and like, oh man. And then it started to go too long, and you could just feel it. Like, okay, now I'm no longer like this. I'm like, come on, guys, get in there. And you could see there was, anxiety, right, of this ending poorly. And then, Brad gave the command, like, all right, get in there. And when they didn't go in, I was like, oh, this is going to end poorly. And they shut them off. Now, that was the only time I watched the burn down was live until just a few moments ago. I got to actually watch it on NHRA's YouTube channel, and they put a clock up, and I wrote some moments, like things that I wish I had earlier for my show, but I didn't. Anyway, after they backed him off the starting line, the first place I went was to Brad. We're all connected through earpiece, and so I could hear what was going on. Not necessarily race control, but I could hear Reinhardt in the PA, which is what people hear on NHRA.TV, and he announced that they're done. And I wanted to qualify with Brad, so I wanted Brad, chief starter. What's the call? He says they just took too long. This is just going too long. Can't do this. So they are both disqualified, correct? Yes, they are both disqualified. So there it was, both disqualified from Brad right there in the moment. So then I went over to Bruno, and I was able to get Bruno just as he was getting out of the car. And Amanda came down from the top end. Amanda from Fox Sports came down from the top end. So we were there was a little, courtesy towards television going on. And to be honest, I can't even remember whether I spoke with him first or she spoke with him first, but we spoke with Bruno, and Bruno was hot. He was disappointed. He said something along the lines, and I don't want to quote him exactly because it was in the heat of the moment. If you're watching on NHRA.TV, you saw it. But he said, he was disappointed that this is not how it's been handled in the past. There's never been a double DQ for something like this. And, we want controversy in the sport. We want big moments like this in the sport. Here one happens, and now we're both disqualified. And he was disappointed. That was Bruno's take. And about, 2 or 3 pairs later, right after Chris McGahey made a run, I was trying to catch up with Mason, and I did. I caught up with Mason, and he said flat out he'd never seen that happen before, and he didn't know that it could happen. And that, he'll do something different next time. And honestly, we were right on the starting line. It was very loud, so I couldn't hear all of his response. That happens a lot, guys. I asked the question, and then I'm like, yeah, wasn't that great? And I don't know if I can hear every bit that they say, but fortunately, you guys can. And that was it. We moved on. Since then, of course, this morning, I spoke with Brad Hardy. I know Brian had him on the NHRA Insider podcast. I have not been able to listen to that, but I spoke with Brad myself, and we had a conversation on the record, off the record. And, I asked him, would you do it the same again? And he said he would get involved quicker. And I thought that was an excellent statement, because I thought that was the only, downside to it. Talked to a lot of people about it. This has been fun, getting opinions, right? Hartford put out a great post on his social media, which I read on my show. You guys, I won't make you suffer through it, but you can see it on social. And the comments on Hartford's post are a who's who of the stars of drag racing, going all the way back, whether it be Jim Yates or Scotty Richardson, every opinion you want to get. I talked to Greg Anderson about it. I talked to Tim Freeman about it. There's a lot of opinions about it. But to make the call, the right call, the first time out, in the moment, I think Brad did well. And we're going to go forward. And that's it. The burn down in Kansas. People will remember it. And you guys remembering all the burn downs that have ever happened. How amazing is that? That's pretty awesome that you guys do that.
Epic week.
Well,
yeah.
Like you said, the controversy. We have all these other stars talking about the controversy in football, the controversy in basketball. I denounced my love for the LA Lakers because now they're buying a team. I did it on social media. Diehard Lakers fan will never watch a Laker game again simply because they're buying a team. But that's the controversy of sports. We have this, and like you said, people are going to complain, well, they shouldn't have done that. Yeah, do I agree with the double DQ? But the decision was made. People in the stands, like I said, we're talking about it. We are overcoming John Force's 154th win to talk about two guys that just wouldn't put it in the beams.
Yeah. But on that note, so here's my little time breakdown. Okay. So they have the, on the YouTube channel, they have the Reinhardt call of the deal, which is what I was listening to, which is good. So 24 seconds in is the first mention that there's a burn down. So it's already 24 seconds in, which is pretty decent. And then 46 seconds in, Brad makes the first gesture, the first physical gesture of any kind. And then they kind of fast forward in their video. I'm going to have to go back, and I have acquired the full coverage, so I'm going to check it out. Brad tells them that they need to go in at 2:38 in there. Brad's like, guys, you got to go in. So now that's your second intervention from the starter, and they don't go in. So now who's it about? Is it about the competition, or is it about the authority? right? And everybody agrees, I think nowadays, for the most part, most people in the drag racing community, certainly, that when an authority commands you to do something, you should do it, right? Well, like the the umpire, the referee, the police officer, whoever is the authority in a situation, the teacher to the student, like what situation is it just okay? You're an entrant, you're a participant in a sport, and the official is telling you, and you're like, nah. Well, anyway, at 3:18, think about that. Brad tells him to go in at 2:38. 3:18, he gets very animated, Buster animated. He goes to Mason and he says, "You put it there." And on the other side, his assistant starter told Bruno. And that was at 3:18. And for 20 more seconds, both drivers did nothing. What is, in my opinion, has evolved. I was as disappointed as anybody, guys. Trust me. I wanted to see them race after that. I wanted to hear the loser. Like, what did they have to say? I wanted to hear the interviews. Like, it could have extended more. Why didn't they just stage at that point? You go there, do it now. What's so hard to understand about that? Like, you're being commanded, you're being ordered. You've got to go in. You've got to go in. And they didn't go in. At that point, I think both guys, if you talk to him now, and Bruno, I spoke with him this morning too via text. He mentioned the 2012 Matt Smith, Hector Arana burn down, and Mark Lyle was the starter. May he rest peace. And it would happen a little differently, and I guess it could have happened differently. But this is the way it happened. You can't expect an outcome. Oh, well, what they need to do is then shut us off. And then when they shut us off, then they'll refire us and then they'll let us go and it'll be a great thing. Yeah, that might be how it goes, but maybe not. And in this case, it wasn't. And when I watch the replay now, my opinion is solidified. When Hardy goes, you in to Mason at 3 minutes and 18 seconds, the debate is over. There's no fan that can say it's okay for Mason to continue to sit there like that. There's just no circumstance where it's okay to do that. Now, here we are, 72 hours after the deal, having analyzed it a bunch and talked about it a bunch and heard everybody's opinion. It's easy to make that decision now. In the moment, a little tougher, but ultimately, Mason and Bruno, somebody should have just staged and ate it and been the loser in that moment. And maybe they would have won the race. And then this thing could have continued on. They would have talked on the top end. Who knows? Shoving match. Who knows what would have happened? We were robbed of that. And they were, cars pushed around on the starting line. That took a lot of downtime. Fans, come on. How many fans, guys, truly understood exactly what was going on? Fans were confused. But we're making the best of it now. We'll tune it up in the future. It's something that happened. We're talking about it. But the people who are saying that NHRA got it wrong or that Brad Hardy got it wrong, those people are wrong.
Completely agree that they are wrong. And through this, I do hope that people, they actually learn the rules, because there seems to be such a lack of understanding of what the rules are. And I think in this situation, we learned the dynamic that there are not just two competitors on that starting line. Or four in the situation of the four wide. You, in fact, have two competitors and an official, that chief head starter. And I think it's important, as I said before, bringing you on, know your starter. This is not the first time it's happened to Brad. Yes, on the Camping World side, but he mentioned in that interview with Brian Loans that they double DQ'd two top sportsman racers for the same thing at Salt Lake City for a regional race. Know your starter. Look, I imagine Bob Glidden, Butch Leal, all those other guys, they knew, we're going to get a stern talking to from Buster, but he's not going to DQ us. We're going to get a second opportunity. Well, maybe you don't get that with Brad.
Yes. Or maybe, exactly. And there's many layers to it. The live television, Buster, or not, it wasn't live, but to the television show, Buster never dealt with that. That was not a thing that Buster had to deal with, had to think about, but not only Buster, others. Buster had officiated thousands and thousands of runs through the early days of drag racing where guys were actually genuinely burning each other down in races. and had so much experience. Brad has been the chief starter at the NHRA since 2019. We've never said his name, and that means he's doing a great job. People don't even realize he's out there. People have gotten back to me and said, well, I thought they were doing rotating divisional starters. And it's like, yeah, that idea went out the window in the beginning of 2019. Where have you been? And the answer is Brad has done such a great job that no one even knows that he's different people, that he's the same guy. And in this one, he made the call, man. He made the call, or the call was made. And yeah, move on. You're disappointed with the call? Well, when your manager in the baseball game goes out there and kicks dirt on the umpire and gets thrown out, that's what happens. It's part of it. This is now part of it. I do hope, though, if I can evolve the conversation a little bit, I want to see a burn down again as soon as is possible. This can't be the cooler on the burn down. And if you got any racers watching your show right now, and I didn't say this on WFO because it's not something I got to, we need a burn down ASAP. The Factory Showdown guys gave us one a few minutes later, and I thought it was great. And they took their time. We need burn downs, staging duels, gamesmanship. We got to have it. Now that everybody knows what one is, let's have another one. Just don't make it 3 minutes and 38 seconds that ends with nobody staging in a double DQ. How about it, guys? How about you go up there and there is a little bit of gamesmanship and there is a little bit of a staging duel, and it only takes like 45 or 50 seconds, 38 to 40 seconds, and get us going a little bit and then go in and race. I think that would be good for the sport of drag racing.
Right. Hey,
Dan brought this up. I've seen that. Local track final round. They were doing like an outlaw style junior dragster race. They were racing for $1,200, and it was two sisters. And the older sister was like, hey, we're going to play this game. And the only thing that I want to see, if we're going to do this, Joe, we need a little bit more throttle play.
Yeah.
That's what's going to get everyone excited.
Both of these drivers, Bruno is a champion and an expert, but he's at the beginning of his pro stock learning curve, and he's living out this life dream, and he's with Elite, and he wants to do everything right. And it's just a different experience when you're the guest, when you're the guest, as opposed to when you own the house. And when Bruno is in his comp car, he owns the house. When he's driving an Elite car, he is the guest. And there's many layers as to why this all went down, which I hope to see play out over the next, however many races. And then Mason is an 18-year-old kid. Who knows what level of understanding he knows about this whole thing? But the two got together, immovable object, unstoppable force, and they had their moment. But it shouldn't be a total cooler on everybody else. And I've heard a lot of people say, how is the burn down in Pro versus Joe? Yeah, it hasn't happened yet, guys. It hasn't happened. Me and Fly and Ryan, we're going to do it. I'm going to burn them down in street Mustangs. We'll idle for 2.5 hours. It'll be great. But I think that the sport benefits from moments like this. You got to tell the story. You got to say what it is. You got to explain what's going on. You got to get everybody excited. You got to make sure that they know what's happening and that this is a thing, a staging thing. And I think we'll be in a good place if we can get more and everybody is respectful and it doesn't end up like this one did. Now we know, right? We know where the line is. We know what not to do. Don't do it again.
We're done talking about this, Joe. All right. Let's dive into who Joe Costello is, WFO radio. Let's dive into that side of this. We've talked about this long enough. All right. So, Joe, WFO, we're going to make a song. We're going to make an NHRA theme song that we just roll people in. Stevie will do it. So, Joe, you've been on air for a while. You got your show going, Pros versus Joes. You've been on XM radio. You've done some NASCAR. Like, you've done a lot. What has your experience been like as you commentate and, give your opinions like Lee and I are doing on this show about what you see happening in motorsports?
It's been very negative. It's been a terrible. I love racing, and I keep coming back to racing, and it's a great sport. Like, I genuinely love it and like it. And I grew up in Hollywood, Florida. And, we had a track called Miami Hollywood Speedway, and every guest hit I do, I talk about this place is where Daryl Gwynn and Jerry Gwynn, and the South Florida car culture is tremendous. And we've got great roads and great weather. And right by my house, Miami Hollywood Speedway. And my parents brought me out there in the 70s and 80s. And I was a little kid. And I remember the first time I went, I was frightened to fall through the bleachers. Like it was a big gap down there when you're a little kid. Those bleachers are scary. And I just fell in love with going to the track with my dad. And we saw some crazy things, guys, like people showering the track with bottles, like beer bottles raining down on the track, and the, kite cycles and like all kinds of just crazy stunts and stunt shows and craziness. And attention fans, if you would like your car to be one of the cars that is jumped in the thrill show, please report to the tower. And people would bring their cars and have their car get jumped. It was the 1970s in Miami, Florida. If you're not from Florida, it's really hard to explain what that means, but it was definitely something. And obviously caught the bug, loved it, wanted to go bracket racing, went bracket racing, was a bracket racer for many, many years, and still deep down consider myself a bracket racer. Like that's really what I am. I love drag racing, but I love pulling into the track in a street car and putting some shoe polish on the rear window and going out there and trying to win and then driving home. Like to me, that's the most fun you can have. Like racing a car, winning a little money and just going home. Easy stuff. But I'm also a talk radio guy. At the same time, I love talk radio. And, a lot of people think of Howard Stern, that he's one of the guys, but there have been many guys that I've listened to. Like the Ron and Ron show was a thing that I listened to. Fez Whatley just passed away, partner of that show. Nobody knows who I'm talking about, but maybe you do. Ron Bennington was a comedian. Ron Diaz, Neil Rogers in South Florida, Phil Hendry, who is a, big time talented radio guy. And while I was doing my bracket racing, I worked in a personal watercraft dealership, and we had the talk radio on in the shrink wrap room where I was operating shrink wrapping parts. And these guys are getting paid to do this. What? They're just having the best time and they're killing it money wise. And I need to do this. And so I got involved in talk radio, and I got a gig at a local radio station, and I worked as a producer for a lot of people who have made it very, very big in the industry. And I'm just like amazed by how poorly I've done compared to them, honestly. But it's, I think, because I love racing so much. What it is I'm doing really well in a niche sport. It's the thing is that we have a niche sport, and I don't care. I love it anyway. I remember the chief engineer, George, was a bracket racer with me. And my dad, who had a concrete company, George asked my dad if they could pour some concrete at the transmitter. And they had a conversation about, driving down there to look at the job. Hey, like, what's Joe want to do? Joe's a good racer. He's a good kid. What's he want to do? And he's like, oh man, he wants to be in radio. And he's like, send him over. So I got the gig. It was a who you know kind of thing. And anyway, then he offloads his Super Comp dragster to me, and I buy a dragster, and that was a whole nightmare, but a good one. Like a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And this is in the 90s, guys. Like the Slam and Sam was not even a dream in his parents' eyes. They didn't even think about Slam and Sam. How old are you, Slam and Sam?
I'm a 90s baby. Come on.
Well, what year in the 90s?
90.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. You're older than I thought. What about you, Lee? How old are you?
33, 1988.
Like I said, you guys were both around, but not really.
Barely.
Yeah, barely.
You weren't 10 years old. You got to think about this. NASCAR was not really a mainstream thing yet. Jeff Gordon was emerging. And so that's how I got on the air. It's a big challenge to go from producer, behind stage, backstage, to front stage, on stage, talent. It's very hard, especially in the 90s. It was very challenging. Nowadays, it's easier, especially because it shows, podcasts. Everybody can do their own thing, prove that they're good. Back then, it was a guard gate between the on-air studio and everywhere else. But I remember Jeff Gordon won 5 races in a row, and people started asking about NASCAR. I was like, I know NASCAR. I know stuff. So I became the guy that people would ask questions. And, eventually I talked my way on the air. Motorsports Saturday, 1999. One of my first interviews, live hits was with Tony Stewart in his rookie year in Miami. And then NASCAR came to Miami and things kind of snowballed. And I did real well till 2004 when I went to XM Satellite Radio, NASCAR Radio. and did that for a while, and did Power Shift, the first nationwide drag racing themed show. A lot of people don't remember. Early XM subscribers did. And then 2009, the big merger happened, and they fired all the XM people. We all got blown out in a radio style bloodbath, and it was a nightmare catastrophe. And so I sat here right in the studio right here, which was my XM studio initially. And I said, like, what are my, I don't want to move to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. No offense, Sheboygan, but I don't want to go there. I live in sunny, beautiful South Florida where people move and when they retire, and I'm already here. And my parents are here and everything is here and we can race in January. What should I do? And they said, well, podcasting and mobile devices and all that stuff it's new. It's coming on. And maybe it'll take me 20 years. But if I build an audience one by one, because Facebook was brand new, Twitter barely existed. We were unable to. I was just talking to Tommy Noodles, who was my co-host or producer back then, about this. We couldn't take any of our audience from XM to WFO radio. Zero. Just one day we were gone from XM. And one day there's some more to the story, but I'll cut that out. Pop up on podcast or live stream and Race Talk Radio. Those guys helped me out a lot. Keep it going. And I've had to grow the audience one by one. But through that and just stubborn dedication, I've been able to get some gigs and, doing the NHRA thing. Let's continue to expand the NHRA thing. NHRA drivers are more colorful than NASCAR drivers. That's just a fact. They are better personalities. And these people, 700,000 of them, 700,000 or so would listen to NASCAR radio 5 nights a week to me on my show, talking about these characters that are cool and awesome, but less colorful than our drag racing characters. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to do WFO NHRA Nitro about drag racing. I'm going to continue the show I did on satellite and put it on the net. And my first show, I had Tony Schumacher, and I had probably, I don't know if he knows this, but I knew we had like 15 listeners, and we grew it genuinely one by one to whatever it is now, which I can tell you, I really don't know or trust or believe any numbers that I see on the internet. I know when I walk through the pits and people come up to me and say, WFO, I heard you say this. WFO, I say that, or the emails I get, or the social media I get, people say, and I'm just going to stubbornly continue doing the show as long as it's fun, as long as I like it. People invite me to do stuff. I got the Performance TV gig, which is on and off now, but I did that for about 5 years. Bob Fry, hey, the drivers and you can string words together. Would you be interested in being part of the announcing team after I retire? Like, what? Yeah. Okay. I never saw myself doing that. Although I did track announce for many years back at Miami Hollywood and Moroso Motorsports Park, I just never saw myself doing that again. And now here I am doing it again for the NHRA, and I do my thing and I try to bring enthusiasm and entertainment and my own brand, whatever it is. And I keep showing up until they tell me to stop. And that's it. That's me.
Well, Joe, glad the hard work has paid off and you keep on keeping on. And talking about brand and that hard work, finding identity, Darren Williams Jr., American Hot Rod Entertainment, young man doing a good job. He asks, how long before you felt like you came into your own as a commentator, host, and found your identity? So what did it take to shape and craft WFO Joe?
Wow. I'll let you know when it happens. I'll tell you what. Constantly evolving, Darren. And I saw Darren out there at Sonoma, and he did a great job, and he's a great kid. And yes, too much knowledge about John Force. Crazy. But constantly evolving. But there was a point where I became like, this is good. This is it. Like, what should I be like? Who should I be like? I've got to be myself. I've got to do my own thing. You got Ryan. Like, are we talking as a talk radio host? Are we talking as a person? Are we talking as an announcer? All of these things are a little bit different because you're doing a job differently. But you got to just be you. You got to be genuine. You got to be honest. You got to be true to yourself. That's it. Like, that's all you can do. When you're trying to be someone else, it's so obvious. You've got to just be you. Now, you can be your best you. You can listen to yourself and think about what you're saying, and there is a best way to say it, or the most clear, concise, maybe the fewest words that make sense. You can think of something funny, but you got to be you. And at some point, I just became comfortable with who I am. Like, the sound of my voice, is it the best? I think it's there's so many people who have much better voices than I do. But I can't change this. This is it. I can't change it. There's nothing I can do. And there's people with way worse voices. So I'm going to try to make it up with enthusiasm or a funny comment or whatever works in the moment. But honestly, as an announcer, I feel like the most important thing is timely, accurate information to the racers is my number one thing, like who won the race and how they won. If you don't do that, you shouldn't be doing it.
And exactly, you talk about being yourself. You've got Lee here who wears his sunglasses. He's got his beard, AKA, as John Force calls him, the Stevie Wonder, the Amish Stevie Wonder. You've got me at the racetrack.
What's up? Okay, stand by. Lee, what's up with the shades?
What is up with the shades? Man,
what's up with the shades?
And when I started out doing exactly what I'm doing here, I decided to quit a dairy farm job. And finally, after being told the last condescending thing I was going to let my boss talk to me and tell me, and I was pastoring a small struggling church in upstate New York that I knew wasn't going to move forward. And I'm sitting around watching all these young punks having successful YouTube channels. And I'm like, I can do that. And I think I can do it better. And it progressed to filming races. And I thought to myself, I'm going to take my camera and see if I can get some driver interviews at the Southern Nationals. And it worked out. And I've had key people like Chip Lofton and Doug Foley and others help me and assist me to this very point. The reason for the shades is there's some practical purposes. So when filming on the line, it allowed me at the time, I wasn't using the eye finder, the eye port. I was actually had the little flip screen out. As the car would go by, you're getting blasted with exhaust. So it kept me with being able to see what was on the viewfinder without having my eyes blasted by the exhaust.
Shades on the line, mandatory. Glasses.
Right.
I think. Got to do it. Got to have protection.
So, and then, being redheaded and red beard, the more you can cover up, the better, and it's less sunscreen. So big shades definitely did it. And I decided just to craft a character to separate me from everybody else out there. I felt like I needed to do something to separate me from a WFO Joe, from a Slammin' Sam, and make this distinct character that the way I love motorsports, to just let it fully out through this guy known as the Monday Morning Racer. And I like Macho Man, and I'm like, I'm going to get me some big shades. And I'm a Scotty Cannon fan. So when I'm like, what shades do I pick? I'm going to go Oakley's, because Scotty Cannon, the man from the upstate of South Carolina, and that's where I'm from originally. I'm like, he was the man. He was the dude. I'm going to get me some Oakleys and look like Macho Man Scotty Cannon and create my own version with a big beard that makes John Force think I'm Amish.
Well, but yeah, that's a miss on John's part, but I love that. I love that. I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because I knew there's something, right? There's got to be something. And I knew wrestling was part of it. Like, I didn't know exactly, but I had a part, like, wrestling is part of this deal. And that makes sense. And Sam, you were going to say?
No, I just said, we all have our own things. I put my hat on backwards because 9 times out of 10, I'm wearing a hat when I'm outside. A lot of people always ask me, well, Sam, you wear glasses at the track. Like Lee just said, glasses are mandatory when you're out in the sun all day. But you have to create your own unique image when you're there, right? Some people wear their hats forward. I prefer mine back. The baseball thing from years ago, but it's just one of those things where create your own brand, stick to your brand, and be true to yourself. And I think that's something when you came on my podcast, you said that, and I'm going to ask the same question to you, Joe, here, is people always say we have 3 different media outlets on screen right now. Actually 4. We have Competition Plus, we have WFO Joe, we have Monday Morning Racer, and we have Outlaw Performance ENT with the face of Slammin' Sam. How do we all get along? How can we all continue to spread and talk and share your post, and you're sharing your time with us? How can you do that when you're still creating and promoting your own brand?
Well, it's interesting because our challenge is that our sport is micro. And the people who are super passionate, like yourselves and Bobby and Brian Loans and myself, that are also media savvy, and there are many others too, like Drag Champ, and there's a bunch of people. There's almost as many like media outlets as there are racers and fans. We got to grow the sport, and to do that, I think we're all having this challenge right now. Like, we love our sport, we know it was big. We're maybe a little confused and probably slightly misinformed about how big it was back in the day when, we could think of the glory days of the Diamond P days and the stands and everything. And it was great. But drag racing, even at its biggest, most giant moment compared to the most biggest giant thing, was small. It's all about perspective. But ultimately, what matters is, do we love it? Do we want to be a part of it? Is it good? Is it good for us? Is it good to be around? Is it healthy? And, we share that passion with the people around us, and that's it. That's all you can do, but you got to be aggressive about it. So like, I'll tell you something that I need to do better, right? Like, didn't you guys have Stevie Ray on the show, right? Stevie Ray, the wrestler, speaking of wrestling, Stevie Ray agreed to come on WFO and wants to come on WFO, and through my busyness and chaos, and honestly, like, I want the Stevie Ray show to be the best show ever. And like, I'm just to nail down the time to get Stevie Ray on the show. Well, you know what? Stevie Ray, when he brings on the show, when he comes on any show, you'd think he's going to bring people who don't know what drag racing is. And then they're going to hear him talking about it. And they're going to say, wow, man, I'm going to check out this thing that Stevie Ray is talking about. Like, we got to reach beyond our sport. We got to do better. And that's what I try to do on the starting line. We had, the punter from the Kansas City Chiefs. His last name was Colquitt. He won the Super Bowl. He let me wear his ring. It was his first drag race ever. He didn't know that it really existed. He didn't understand what this was. He said that it was one of the best experiences of his life. He had never felt that. This is a guy who has experienced winning the Super Bowl. And he stood on the starting line, and everybody doesn't get to stand on the starting line, guys. I get it, but you get a taste of it. He loved it. Killer Mike loves it. We got to keep bringing in people like influencers. Like, what is an influencer? Before influencers were just social media people. Like, you get them to the race and then you expose them to it. But then I think that's where the failure is happening. Like, we've got to follow up with these people, and we've got to like keep them coming back and befriend them and ask them like, okay, Stevie Ray, you're friends with Lee Beard, right? What do you think is up with, Cruz's team? Like, do they have what it takes to go all the way? And like what you guys did to me in the first minute of the show, like, give me your top 3 things, and made me critically think about stuff. Like, make it fun for them, make them part of it, continue to make them part of it, instead of like, yeah, I went to a drag race. Here's a picture of me at the drag race, and then I'm moving on to the next thing. Drag racing has to continue to pull those people back. And I think that's something we can do. I think we need to fight back against the negativity, which I'm doing and Brian's doing and you're doing. And, those guys, man, those guys that are on there with the negative energy and they want to purge on social media like it's a toilet, and they're feeling the pressure from down under. And they're like only posting negative things about NHRA, about the drivers, about the teams, about the cars, about the Camaros, about Pro Stock. It's dead. It's terrible. It's why, like, we got to push back against those guys. Guys, take it somewhere else, man. Enough. Or ignore them. But we can grow. The sport can grow. But also, I don't think, how much do we want it to grow, guys? Really? Like, however many people are at Topeka, what percentage more can we afford to have out there and still be comfortable in our facilities? 20%? Like, how much can it grow?
Yeah, I don't, it's interesting when you think about, quarter mile, 1,000-foot drag racing and the way in which the facilities are built. Well, you get to a point where you really can't go grandstands beyond the 8th mile. That gets dangerous if there's any debris. We saw that with St. Louis and Leah's front end barely missing a section of the stands. So you got to go up. Well, when you go up, that also takes the price tag up, and then the return. And yeah, you run into some situations in the facilities. How much more can we grow? And, I want to see it where you got the U.S. Nationals and it's like Super Bowl status, like true Super Bowl status, not just Super Bowl for us, but it's that big. But how do we get there? And is it attainable with you've got an 8th mile section that's viewable, basically?
So I think that's unattainable. I hate to say it. I love drag racing, guys, but I just don't think the most popular flavor of ice cream is vanilla. But it's not the best flavor of ice cream, but it's the most popular flavor of ice cream. And what makes us unique is the same reason. The thing that makes us love this sport so much is the same reason it's never going to be as big as the Super Bowl. It's just not. We've got to make it as big as we can make it and still hold on to our exclusive, this is not for everybody status. Think about the average person. They think about the college band on the field. Okay, that's great and all, but it's not 2 nitro cars throttle whacking in the pits. It's not, a burn down in pro stock, one that gets off the starting line. It's just, we're not that. That's not what it is, I think. And I think we got to come to that conclusion. And what we need to do is kind of craft a place for ourselves that make us this amazing, unique thing. Here's something that gets said a lot, like the Grand Canyon. We don't want to be the thing that you got to go see just once, and then you've seen it, and then you never have to see it again. We don't want to be that. We want to be something that the fan feels ownership of what's going on out there. I'll give you an example. Rick Allen from Def Leppard. He and I were hanging out on the starting line out in Sonoma, and I had a conversation with Rick. I'm just totally name dropping right now. Thank you, Ron Caps. Rick Allen, Def Leppard. But he said, I've never felt more welcomed at any sport. He goes, I've been to everything. Formula One, NASCAR, everything. I've never felt more part of it than at this. Now, don't get me wrong. He's on Cap's team. He's not just a regular GA ticket buyer, but the GA ticket buyer, man, he can feel pretty close to the whole thing. You can go stand right at the ropes and talk to Cap's guys and ask Guido a question. And where else can you do that? People just don't know we exist. We just need to keep grinding it out with our social media and our every trick we got in the book and try to grow as best as we can and bring in some sponsors. And, hopefully Camping World can do some stuff that exposes it when, Marcus starts coming to the track. And obviously we get the whole pandemic thing in the rearview mirror. I think there's great times ahead for the NHRA, but to become like the NFL, you realize like Major League Baseball is a third of the NFL, and Major League Baseball is 1,000 times bigger than we are. That Field of Dreams show, they had 6 million viewers. What do we get? Can we add 30%? If we can do that, that would be really great, but we got to work. And we got to come up with ideas, and we got to come up with promotions. We got to promote them. We got to share. How often do you guys realize that? Like I encountered on my show, I stopped having multiple drivers on my show a while ago, and I stopped because, and to out them like this, it's been a couple of years, so maybe things have changed a little bit. But if you have a JFR driver and a DSR driver on the same show, nobody shared the show. Right? It's like, I can promote myself, but I don't want to promote the other guy, so I'm not going to promote it at all. And I noticed that. And I was like, oh man, I'm not getting, but then when it was one or the other by themselves, they would push it out there. It's like, oh.
The whole team is sharing it at that point.
We gotta, right. And we gotta get past that. And like with you guys, honestly, here I am in this business and I try to create this thing, WFO, and now there's more. And is that a bad thing or is that a good thing? Like, oh my gosh, competition. Are they competition? And the answer, I think that thought. I'm not telling people about other people's shows. It's like, well, what's the subject? The subject's drag racing. What are they going to do? They're going to get listeners. What are those listeners going to do? They're going to learn. They're going to learn to listen. They're going to learn to listen on Facebook and YouTube and podcasts. And then one day they'll go there and they'll see this other one and maybe they'll listen to me. And so now we've got 6 or 10 podcasts out there, all pushing their stuff, telling their friends who I could never get to every one of them. But you guys are getting people. And I guarantee there are some people that found your show first and then found WFO and now listen to me or hate me like poison, one way or the other. That's how we do it. And we're doing it. and it's happening. It's just, you go back to 2019, guys. I feel like we were in a really good spot and about to have the best year in our history, and something happened.
Well,
Very
Joe,
much
look,
so. And
Joe,
please
last
be
question
quiet.
for you from me. So we've had you on almost for an hour. Thank you for your time. It's been really good. You, as you mentioned, been able to cover many other motorsports. Like you were able to talk to Kyle Larson not too long ago with his great run that he's having. Man, phenomenal things
started
he's doing.
Started the run. Just saying here, it's a statement of fact. Hadn't won anything till it came on WFO. Totally got the WFO bump. Won 4 in a row, almost, or whatever it was. And it all started with the WFO interview. Yes, he's a talented guy, and he had won a lot of stuff beforehand, but it's a statement of fact. WFO, win.
Hey, go on WFO and you start winning. Look, John Force, historic win for him, but it's a historic weekend for drag racing and I think motorsports, period, with you've got daughter and father winning on the same weekend in the same sport. And do you know of anything in motorsports and sports that really can match or level up to that unique moment that seems to be settling in drag racing and drag racing alone? And what's the significance of it?
Well, that's a problem with our sport. It's so different than anything that anybody else understands. Like, what other sport can a 72-year-old man go out there and compete against a young guy that is at the top of his game and beat him on a consistent basis like John Force has done with J.R. Todd this year, right? Like, they've raced a bunch of times, and John is winning. J.R. got a couple of licks in out in Sonoma. We had him on the stage, and it was all respect, and it's great, and JR is great, and his team is great, and Force is battling him to, at very least, a stalemate. What other sport does that happen in? And the average person maybe doesn't even, like, maybe they think that's a negative, right? Like, oh, if a 72-year-old man can do it, how hard could it be? But that's, anybody who knows our sport knows that it's very, very hard if you even have the courage to try to do it, which most people do not. And then the multiple winners. A lot of people tell me that it would be so much better if we only had one winner. Had this conversation just the other night. Like, oh my gosh, who's the winner? Well, these 3 people or these 4 people, they're the winner. Yeah, but which one's the big winner? Well, they all are. Well, how is that? Well, because they all run a different category. In our sport, we have different categories and different styles of cars and crafts. And so this guy in pro stock motorcycle and this guy in pro stock and this girl in top fuel and this guy in funny car. And they happen to be related and it's a father and daughter and they both won. Like, too much for the average mind that the vanilla ice cream eaters, they can't handle that, guys. They just can't. And that's why we have to decide, like, we either love it as it is or we don't. Many years, the conversation about merging the nitro categories, get rid of one or the other, and then you only have one nitro category, and it's easier to tell the story. And the newspapers, they only give you 3 inches of a line in an article, and instead of telling the full story about how Brittany defeated Steve in the semifinals and then beat Clay and how she did it, you just get a name because they can only devote so much space to drag racing because they just can't. And what do? We've decided that, no, man, we love our categories. We love our differences. It's hard to tell that story. It just is. And we need our personalities to be better. Honestly, we could get some good luck. We haven't a good luck. How about the fact that Brittany and Leah hadn't raced since 2017 before Sonoma? What the heck is that? That's bad luck. Like, how does that not happen? Those two had raced 5 or 6 times and got a little sassy with each other and had a good battle going. Things would be in a different place. We just got to keep going. As far as John and Britt, it's amazing, but drag racing is a sport of families and a sport of fathers and sons and fathers and daughters and husbands and wives and brothers, 2 brothers, first and second and super stock points last year, the Warner brothers. Like, this is a family sport because it's so hard to get into. Get a car, build the car, make sure the car goes down the racetrack, race the car, learn what you're doing, have the money to do it, have the job that enables you to do it. Like, it's a brutally hard hurdle to jump just to get into it. And it takes a village, it takes a family, and that's why we have it. And we just got to keep doing what we're doing and get some luck and catch a break and, we'll grow. We'll grow. But even if we don't grow, there's, you got to figure out how to maximize things by not growing. Like, how many people that are diehard fans don't have NHRA.TV? What's up with them? They love stock. They love super stock. They love watching sportsman categories. They'll tell you, but they don't have NHRA.TV. How many guys, let me ask you this, guys. How many fans have told you they don't have NHRA.TV because they just like to watch stock and super stock when they go to the event, and they don't need to have NHRA.TV? It's like, excuse me. That's the best reason to get NHRA.TV, to watch stock and super stock and learn who these people are. We've got a messaging problem. If we have any kind of problem, we got a messaging problem with our sport. People think that they know, and they'll tell you that they know, but they don't know. And that is our problem. That is our challenge. We got to defeat it. And you guys are doing a good job. Brian, very aggressive person about it. I try to be. There you go.
So before we let you go, and I don't know if you can do it, but you've entered into the Power Hour Competition Plus dark side, and just let us know if you can.
Okay.
Looking into Brainerd, Minnesota, can you give us 3 picks? Top fuel. Who would you go with? Because weather will play. There's supposed to be a little bit of rain coming to the Midwest area, the northern plains of nothingness up here.
Are you serious? Really? Is that going to happen to us? It better not.
All right. Well, it's supposed to happen over here.
It better not. It better not. All right. I'm gonna give you some picks. All right. First of all, when it comes to Brainerd, I think Caps is always a really good pick. The guy has got a good thing going in Brainerd. Let me just simmer on it for a moment. I have brought, just in the interest of full honesty, I have brought up the entry list. I'm a visual person. I like to look at the names and think about them. And I will stay with that. I don't normally make picks because it just goes south so badly. But Caps and the Zoo, they go together like chocolate and peanut butter. So I'll take Ron Caps in the Zoo, and I think that would be a kind of a fun thing. As far as top fuel, the scanning up and down, and Josh Hart not going to make it. That is a bit of a bummer. Although he's on the entry list, I get it. Boy, wouldn't it be great to see TJ Zizzo get his first win up there? Got Tobler coming up to help him out.
Yes.
And they're going to, man, the best.
So there means there's going to be wine night if Tobler's going to be there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to be happening over there, but we'll get to the bottom of it for sure. We'll go investigate. But give me Billy Torrance. Billy Torrance, okay. Brainerd's got a history there, and I'm a big believer in that. That's the magic. I've got a column in National Dragster. Hopefully everybody will check it out. Those of you, how many drag racing fans aren't NHRA members and don't get National Dragster? That's the problem. Well, I used to get National Dragster back in the day, and I decided, whatever, and it was 1990. Like, guys, have another look, okay? There's some great stuff going on. The National Dragster is a beautiful magazine, but there's something about going to certain places, and I like Billy. And ProMod, Jose Gonzalez. How do you go against this guy?
Yeah.
There you go. There's my 3. What if they come in? What do I get? What do I get? If I
you
get
what do
I get?
Well,
what's the prize?
No one's gotten all 3 yet.
Right.
But we'll make sure Bobby Bennett sent you one of the new T-shirts. We will make sure of that.
That's great, guys. Awesome.
See?
I was hoping for cash or something, man. Come on.
We're trying to get like FanDuels or DraftKings. So if you know someone, we need to get some, Competition Plus betting going on here.
I want to take issue with Daryl Foley because I've got the comments going over here. He says NHRA.TV is terrible. Usually hear announcers over the cars. And there's a guy in an alternate universe, Daryl, who's complaining about exactly the opposite. He hears too much cars and not enough announcers. And it's a big compromise. And that's your reason. I'm sorry, guys. I'm yelling at one of your listeners. I apologize. But that's the reason, Daryl, that you don't like NHRA.TV. You get all these wheel-standing super stockers and pro stockers. You get all kinds of amazing stuff out there, all the comedy, all the fun, all the great stuff, the great insight. You get like 9 hours a day. You can see jet cars, Daryl. and you think it's terrible just because of the audio mix. Yeah, it's a tough deal with the audio mix. We're always working on it. It's true. There's a lot of people that are working on it all the time. But from last year to this year, the stability has improved 1,000-fold. I know because my phone hasn't ever exploded just yet this year. With we had one race where we were down for the most part. Come on, Daryl. I don't know. I think that's kind of a weak. That's kind of a weak. I'm sorry to attack your listener, guys. Daryl, it's weak.
There you go.
Lee's okay with it.
Wow.
Lee's okay with it.
Hey, I have to even defend the shade sometimes. So I've gotten used to, calling a few folks out. I've developed a bit of a reputation of, well, I maybe shouldn't have said that. So,
hey, it's good. People got to call people out. It's good. When I was on the NASCAR side, I called people out. It's in motorsports. It's very hard to do because it's such a difficult and humbling sport. And also a person can be a failure for something that has nothing to do with them. But there are times where you got to call people out, and we need it. And that's what, those guys do. You mentioned Shannon Sharp, and what is the co-host name again? I can't, it's evading me.
Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless, right. Didn't he just a $30 million deal or something for just calling people out? And Stephen A. I remember when Stephen A. called out LeBron for embarrassing his family. You've embarrassed yourself. You've embarrassed your family. And it's like, oh my gosh, LeBron James is one of the best athletes on the planet Earth ever. And this guy's sitting behind a microphone, just calling out. And who's getting paid more? Stephen A.
False. Do not talk about him no longer while this space is on the screen.
Oh, you're against? Yeah. What's the thing with the Lakers, man?
Dude, if I could turn my camera around right now and show you guys this room, half of this room is like motorsports, and then it's Raiders and Lakers. And I am slowly taking down all of my Lakers stuff. I can't do it. I love that team and that franchise way too much for a guy that is called the GOAT, that is not putting the time and the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears. He's buying a team. Just no.
It will go on. They will go on. It will continue in advance. That's just the way it is.
All right, Joe.
Down here at the Heat, man. He was here. He's gone. He's coming. He's going. He's helping. He's hurting. He's leaving. It is what it is.
Well, Joe, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. Tell all the listeners where they can go during the day, during their lunch break, during their work hours, and listen to what Joe's opinion on drag racing, what his knowledge is, and who you have on your show.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the opportunity, guys. I appreciate it. This was very fun. As I always say, I love being a guest on other people's show because it's like going for a ride as opposed to having to drive. And everybody who watches the Power Hour, know that Bobby Bennett was very helpful to me early on in my NHRA career. Very, very helpful. And that is part of Bobby Bennett's thing, is that he likes to help young people who are passionate about drag racing. And that's exactly what he's doing with these two, Monday Morning Racer and Slam and Sam, two great guys with a lot of passion and a lot of love for drag racing. Just the same way that you watch these guys. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. I don't know if you guys put out a podcast, but because of my audio only talk radio background, I always put out a podcast for the people that drive over the road, work, can't be watching a screen, can't be watching something, earbud in, nose to the grindstone, on a speaker somewhere in their shop listening, that kind of deal. So, and I really prefer, you watch the live shows, which are great and are archived on our WFOradio.com website, which has links to everything. WFO, like wide freaking open, radio.com. And you can check out all of our stuff. I'm WFO Joe on Twitter and Instagram, WFO Radio. You can check out WFO Radio TV on YouTube. And that's probably the best way you could help me out, honestly, is the YouTube channel. Bobby Bennett has done such a great job with his Legends series. And I've been fortunate to interview many of the legends on WFO Radio to promote the Competition Plus YouTube channel. And Bobby has been very dedicated to growing the YouTube channel. And like Monday Morning Racer just mentioned, there are people making a lot of money with their YouTube channels. And so WFO Radio TV is our YouTube channel. If you could subscribe and click the bell, We put out our shows, but also do occasional unique content. And I think what's going to happen is my own 1978 Pontiac Trans Am bracket car is going to become the subject of some new features on our YouTube channel only. So if you want to see those things like me toil and struggle and bust knuckles and be disappointed and sad, you'll probably love it, because that's going to be a lot of what happens with my race car project as we start to tear it apart, pull the engine, and just go slowly as we try to complete our dream of eventually running Super Street in the National Hot Rod Association Southeastern Division. There you go. That's it. That's all the promoting I got.
Thank you, Joe.
Guys, thank you. Have a good night. Have a good show. Appreciate you. Where am I going to see you next? That's the question.
Brainerd.
Yeah.
Indy.
Indy, Brainerd. I'll be at both. It's going to be great. And hey, if you guys didn't hear John Force on my show, he said something that he said on the NHRA.TV, which I want to share with you real quick. John is asking his fans. He's not quoting and commenting and maybe. No, he reached out through the screen today and he asked his fans to come to Indy and pack the house. Now, you going to let the guy ask you that and not do it? Let's start a thing to pack the house and all the Force fans overwhelm the place. I want to see that. So where the other drivers start getting upset that all the Force fans are buying up all the seats and they have to get aggressive with getting their fans out there too. Otherwise, they're going to be in a home game for John Force. I'd like to see that happen. Let's hope everybody gets in it.
I did hear that, so it makes you wonder.
Let's see it. All right, guys.
Needs to happen. Needs to happen. Thank you, Joe.
Later.
Lee, I'm getting attacked here for my comment about go James, saying that I'm not a real Lakers fan, but yet we had season tickets as a child up until my junior year in high school. Like, come on, guys. If you don't know, don't say anything at all. My opinions, get mad if you want to. I just denouncing my love for the Lakers right now. All right, Lee. I need some picks from you.
Picks. Brainerd. I will honestly.
Are you going to give me a Mountain Motor Pro Stock too?
Oh, you know what? They are there. And I should definitely give you a Mountain Motor Pro Stock pick. And I will also take a quick look at the entry list to make sure who is there. But let's start out with Mountain Motor Pro Stock. I think the guy's hot right now. He technically has the fastest and quickest Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Yes, in the quarter mile variety, he set the record at St. Louis in qualifying. The race was postponed. The crazy race that St. Louis was last year. J.R. Carr wins in Mountain Motor Pro Stock.
J.R. Carr. Huh?
Which, congratulations to him. He won Extreme Pro Stock in the PDRA, and he makes it a three-man race for the championship going into the last two races of the PDRA. Congratulations to him. On down the line, I will say for Pro Mod, I'm going to go Stevie Fast Jackson has some resurgence. He needs it. I think he's going to do it. I think he's done some testing from what I understand. I love his call out that he had. You know, if you want to meet me at the House of Hook, Carolina Dragway, I'm going to be there. Whoever wants to come out. And I know there's Shadow. I know it's a different car, but I like where he's at. I think
the guy brings a different flavor to racing. He has done it in the Radio versus the World with all the controversy. We didn't even touch on the controversy of Radio versus the World with what Donald Long has got going on with this. One lane is going to be radio tire versus a stock wheel-based car and all this stuff. It's just so much. Joe, it was a pleasure to have you on. Scott, keep that up. I'm writing people's picks down.
Write it down. Yeah, Scott, good pick. Steve Torrance, Ron Cap, Stevie Fast. Funny car. I want to go Ron again. I have to agree with Joe, but I don't like picking the same people and you know, it gets me in trouble, but sometimes I go against my own gut type of thing. I'm going to go Tasca. I know I know right now that may not be the best pick, but I think Tasca, I imagine he's boiling. He's lost the points lead. Looks like performance has slipped. I think they're going to get that Ford hot rod hopped up and ready for racing in Minnesota.
Lee, are you feeling under the weather? You must be feeling under the weather.
How so, Sam?
You have to be. You're picking a Ford. I could give you a hug right now, Lee.
Dude, look, I come from a Ford family. My dad worked on the Ford Pro Stock team in the early 70s, okay? I have to be a Ford guy. I have to be. I have to be. Top Fuel. I'm gonna go with Billy Torrance again. I went with him last week. Did okay. Look, when Billy shows up, that's just he's a good 1-2 pick. So I'm gonna go Billy, Torrance, Tasca, Jackson, Carr.
Okay. Got him. I'm going Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Going with the boy Johnny Pacino.
It's not that hard.
My boy.
Placino.
Pistachio. Pacino. I don't know. I got to give him crap. Pro Mod. I'm going right now. I am picking Doug Winters. I'm picking Doug. A lot of people are going to count him out. A lot of people say he's a smaller team. He's making the trek. He's doing it. They're going to figure that car out. The car is going to run. And I think this is a weekend to do it.
Yes. Man, look, Will Parr Man mentions it here. My sentimental fave, Wilkerson. If there's anybody needing a good weekend, Wilkerson, man, after tangling with Ron Capps and both having damage to the cars, pulling out backup cars, going into the event. And Wilk is one of those guys, I was surprised he didn't win last year with John Force Racing being out. And you're all I cannot help but look at each race weekend and think, man, when is Hartman and Wilk, that combination, just going to break through? You know they can do it, and it should happen soon, you would think. He definitely needs a good weekend, I think.
I agree with you there. I'm in a battle right now, Lee, with Funny Car and Top Fuel. I don't know who to pick. I have 2 picks, but Funny Car, there's someone that I really want to win. I want to see them finally get a win that they deserve, and the team deserves it. So I'm just, I'm going to go with with my gut right now. Alexis DeJoria. I think this is the weekend. I think Dale is going to have that car lined out, ironed out, and they're going to finally do it. They've had some tough weekends. They've, gone rounds. It's that time.
Sam, it's tough right now, I think, to pick, especially Funny Car. It is so competitive. I cannot remember a time that Funny Car has ever been this competitive. And look, I've watched all the Diamond P VHSs from the 1980s and obviously 90s. I mean, it was all John Force and Tony Petrigon pretty much, except for Cruz that one year in the 90s. And right now, look, Hagen's won. Cap has won. You've got John Force has won. You've got Robert Height has won. J.R. Todd has won. And it has looked like many others could have won. Tasca has won. It is tough out there in Funny Car. Wow.
Top Fuel. I don't know, Lee. I don't know if I should flip a quarter. I don't know if I should but there's 2 guys right now that I think really, really, really just need to get a win. And that's 2 of my homeboys, 2 of my brothers, AB and JA. Antron Brown and Justin Ashley.
All right, who you going to pick between the two? You got it down to 2.
I don't know. It's hard to pick. How do you pick between those two guys?
Well, you've got a solid team with Justin Ashley, with a driver that is definitely getting it done on the lights and consistency. But you have the multi-time champ with Karate and Oswald, the combination making all the tuning adjustments, getting the car down the track, and has went toe-to-toe with Steve-O on occasion this year. It's a tough pick for sure.
I am going to declare I'm not picking in that category. I'll take the loss in points, and hopefully my rounds in Mountain Motor Pro Stock
weak sauce
keep me going.
Look, with that being said, before we close out the show, I definitely want to take some time to mention PDRA. Inaugural weekend at Maple Grove Raceway, the famed Maple Grove. What a great weekend it was. Again, JR Carr, Extreme Pro Stock, congratulations for winning. Wes DiStefano, he won in Pro 632. I picked him, by the way. Dude, round 1 of Pro Nitrous was insane. Jim Halsey went out round 1. Tommy Franklin went out round 1. Jay Cox went out round 1. And then the only guy left in like the top 4 of points, Tony Wilson, who you thought might make a run, he goes out in round 2. And it guaranteed in the final a first-time winner in the PDRA. And Mike, Mountain Man Mike, I can't pronounce his last name. Hopefully I can have him on the show this week or later. Man, he went through everything from Empire Dragway not qualifying for their Pro Mod race to showing up at Maple Grove, wrecking off the line in testing, having a nitrous backfire, and then one bad enough in competition on race day they had to repair the scoop and the windshield, goes on and wins the race. Wow. Goes on and wins the race. And then Pro Boost, Kevin River Snake, as Colton Jordan would say. He won it for the Galat Motorsports team in Pro Boost. What a excellent and great weekend it was for the PDRA. And man, in Mountain Motor Pro Stock, JR Carr, with him winning, overpowers in the final round. The last 2 races, Mountain Motor Pro Stock, Extreme Pro Stock as it's called in the PDRA, it's definitely something to watch that points battle for sure. What a weekend, though, at Maple Grove. Next race will be at Galat at the end of September, beginning of October. So if you make it to that, make it, as Top Fuel 173 says, was at PDRA. Definitely recommend it for everyone who hasn't gone to a PDRA race. It was his first one. Check it out. You want to see the baddest door slammers? They're at the PDRA. They really are, man.
Lee, and you know, we give our picks, and this isn't biased towards anyone. This are just, again, our opinions. But anyone can race on Sundays. Anyone can win on Sundays, and that's what is unique about, you know, this sport is we can give who we think, who may be our favorites or who has a slight advantage right now, but no one knows when they line up after Saturday night is all figured out and the ladder is made up. It's anyone's race come Sunday morning. So,
and look, Sam, I do want to say concerning the PDRA, I just talked about a lot of door slammers, and that's what this body is known for. But ladies and gentlemen, the top dragsters that show up for PDRA competition, whether it is the Elite 16 variety or the 32, wow, the top dragster competition and the top sportsman the competition all the way in the PDRA is so tight and it's such good competition. Look, I mean, some of the top sportsman guys could qualify in Pro Boost or Pro Nitrous. That's the caliber of the top sportsman racers. It's insane. The PDRA it's a long day. It can be, but if you're a drag racing fan, it's worth it.
Mopar Man says that's why we keep coming back, because anyone can win on Sundays, and that's what we appreciate. And I think, Lee, we're going to see a smaller field because of the controversy with Pro Mod and certain drivers and certain teams. It's hard, it's challenging, but I'm excited. I hope no matter what, if you have a car that fits into one of these categories and you can make it and you can be there, why not do it? Because you never know. You can say, oh, I'm going to race next year. Next year's not promised. Next week's not promised. So get out there, do it, have fun, bring your family. Just do what you need to do to get your car there. But if you can't get your car there, be there and support the sport that we love when it is in your local area. That is the biggest thing. At the end of the day, no matter how much rambling Lee and I do or whatever guest is on, that's what message we're trying to continue to promote on our own social media pages as we tell the stories, and on here as Bobby Bennett has given us the time to do so. But continue to support the tracks that are in your area, because those are the ones that are bringing the races to you, and just give back to what has been given to you. Lee, tell them where they can find you. Tell them what you've got going on and what's coming up for you.
Monday Morning Racer. Search that. You can find it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Especially find me on YouTube and hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button on those videos. Live racing action. My own live show on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Between the Slicks. I advertise it as the most diverse drag racing talking show out there. We talk with everybody from Southeast Gassers Association to PDRA, NHRA, XDA, all the other acronyms that you can throw in there. I'll talk to them, from driver to media to official to legend. We will talk to them all on Between the Slicks on Monday Morning Racer. Might have Mike Mountain Man on later this week, or I might give Ryan Ayler a phone call and try to get him on. I don't know, but Thursday night I'll be yakking it up about drag racing once again. So come join me on the Monday Morning Racer platform. Sam, pleasure, honor, great to be on the show with you. WFO Joe, right here with all of you in the comments section on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Shut it down, man.
That's right. I am Slammin' Sam. You can find me on my little personal YouTube page. On my Facebook page, Slammin' Sam, that I kind of ramble about what I'm doing, what's going on. But Outlaw Performance ENT is my main social media platforms where you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like Lee said, please go over there. Hit that subscribe button, because we got a lot of videos that are in the waiting room that are jumping out for you guys. So once you get off of here, go over to YouTube, hit the Monday Morning Racer, subscribe. Outlaw Performance ENT, subscribe. We got another show coming out for you guys. Slammin' Sam, this guy, will be behind the wheel of an IMCA hobby stock car coming up soon. There'll be videos of me doing that. So that's why you need to get over to YouTube. But guys, girls, everybody out there, you can listen to all of these back. Power Hour is on all your major podcast platforms. You can watch them back on YouTube, and you can send us emails and your draft picks at powerhourcp@gmail.com. On behalf of me, Bobby Bennett, Monday Morning Racer, Jeff Arin, who hopefully is here next week and does not have any more medical conditions. Thank you to WFO Joe for coming on. To you guys in the comment section, we appreciate you guys more than what you guys know. Thank you guys for coming back. Till next time, you guys keep the pedal to the metal. You keep driving fast, taking chances. Get to your local track. Support your media people. And as always, drive safe, and God bless.
In the race for quality, there is no finish line. Jerry Bickle Race Cars is a one-stop chassis shop for drag racing performance parts and race components. For over 50 years, Jerry Bickle Race Cars has been an essential part of racers' plans for building world champion race cars. Our parts department is stocked with every part a racer might need. Log on to jerrybickle.com for more information. We build anything with doors. jerrybickle.com.